Hey ALAs, this is Ethan from Camp High Harbour bringing you your first mentor lesson with Sophie Warners and Bennett Porson. We hope you and your families are staying safe and healthy through these unusual times. As an organization, we remain optimistic that these circumstances will pass in time for another great summer at camp. Today, I'm going to be asking Bennett and Sophie some questions, and then we'll ask that you as ALAs log on to your family account to answer similar questions. So let's take it away. Sophie, can you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so hey, I'm Sophie. I'm a sophomore at South Carolina, like at USC. I'm going to be the ALC program director first half of the summer, and I went to St. Pius in Atlanta.
Bennett?
Awesome. Hey, everybody. I'm Bennett Porson. I'm going to be the LIT program director this summer at Lake Burton. I'm currently a junior at the University of Georgia. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, where I went to Westminster.
Wait, I think I said I was a sophomore. I'm a junior. But yeah.
All right, so the first question, and we'll start with Sophie. What advice do you have for ALC or LIT preparing for this summer?
I think that the best advice that I could give is just to kind of like get excited for it. I think that my biggest issue before going into ALC and LIT and kind of every year with camp is I get really caught up in school and sports and just like your life at home. And we talk about at camp every year, like bringing camp home with you and things like that. So just kind of let that happen. Bring camp home with you and kind of bring it into your everyday life. So if that's just like you see a cool quote or something that kind of speaks to you, or you like do a fun like icebreaker game or something that your campers might like, I mean, write it down. And I mean, actually do write it down. It's like you're not going to remember it. But yeah, just kind of get excited for it and start thinking about it. And yeah.
Awesome. Bennett?
I think the one thing I would have to say is come in with an open mind. That is such a cliche thing to say, but when you go to camp and when you come in as an ALC, as an LIT, you are going to be asked to do things that are going to push you out of your comfort zone. You are going to be pushed to a new level that you don't know exists. And that level just is going to shape you and change you into the person that you can be and the person that you will become. So just come in with an open mind and be ready to just say yes and jump into every day, knowing that you're going to face a new task, a new challenge, new possibilities. But at the end of the day, you are just going to become out as such a better person, and you're going to learn so much about yourself. So just know that it's going to be challenging at some times. You are going to have some hard days, but know that with an open mind, you can absolutely conquer anything. You'll just, as I've said multiple times, you'll just be changed for the better.
Great. All right, next question. So, Sophie, Bennett, go back to when you did the ALA program, I guess several years ago now. Why did you want to be a part of the ALA program?
I think that I first wanted to be an ALA. Well, actually, I only went to camp 1 year before my ALC year. I just did water sports, and I was only there for 1 week. And just after that, like, there's already so many counselors and so many like people where I was like, oh my gosh, I have like 20 new role models. Like, I want to be exactly like all these people. They're all so cool. And I think that it was a lot like I wanted to be for someone what they were for me, just like in that 1 week. I mean, I came in, I was so nervous and I had no idea what was going on. And I mean, I don't think I really even knew at all, like what the ALA program was and what it could do for me. But I just saw what these counselors did and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is great. And that was the first step. And I was just, yeah, I mean, if you just see, I mean, I think all of us kind of have counselors that we look up to. And so it's really cool to like, that's like, you're starting that path and you're starting to be like that. And so that's kind of why I did it.
Great. Thank you, Sophie.
Yeah. I think when I first went into the ALA program, I started as an ALC, and it was just the next step. It was I had been at camp for 6 years by then, and everyone just went to ALC and then they did LIT. But what I didn't realize is it's a completely different year of camp. It's going to change camp the way you know it, but it's going to change it in the coolest ways possible. At first, I went from being like, I'm going to become an ALC because that's what I do. And what I realized so quickly is that it began shaping me immediately. And the fact that you're in the cabin with the same people for 2 weeks as an ALC is just something that is so cool, because you get to actually create relationships over 2 weeks. And there's something that is really different about being in the same cabin with people for a week and being in the cabin with people for 2 weeks. And that's really where you start to create those connections and bonds, where you create friends that you'll be with at camp for the rest of your life, and you'll be with in general for the rest of your life outside of camp. So I kind of went off on a tangent there, but if you're coming in for a different reason, just know that you know, once you get there, your perception is going to change, and it's going to be for the better.
Great. All right. So still thinking back to when you were ALC or LIT, what's your favorite memory from either of those years?
Okay. Well, I think my favorite memory from LIT year, like more of like my like sappy one, was I remember my first week I was in cabin 2, which like for us is kind of like for Alatina, it's like the younger kids. But there was this one girl who came in and was really shy. She'd never been at camp before, and she was just so nervous at like opening night program, and she just like didn't want to talk to anyone, didn't really like, just didn't really know what to do with herself, and didn't want to dance or play the games. So my staff kind of like put me with her, and we're just like, hey, just keep an eye on her, things like that. And so we just ended up hanging out all night, and she was so fun and so cute. And by the end of the night, I remember she was just like all into it and like jumping around and just having such a good time. And so I think it was like the first time where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is real. Like this is kind of like this like experience is giving me the chance to actually like make a difference and actually help kids like feel comfortable here. And I mean, get to kind of be excited and be who they want to be, and I just like feel confident about themselves. And I think that was just like mind blowing for me, and it's kind of like one of the things I've always held on to throughout like my years at camp. And then I think with ALC, this is like more just like just funny ALC stuff. But I remember, if you know where like the ALC and LIT cabins are at Alatuna, they're back in leadership land, like way far away. And so they tried to give us bikes one year. And it just went so horribly. Everyone was just kind of like crashing and things like that. And that sounds awful, but it was just so fun. And I mean, it was just such a mess. I think we're the last cabin that ever did it. They just started it with us, and we just could not do it. But yeah, I mean, you're with the same people, and I mean, it just turned into like a whole big thing. But yeah, I think the bikes were definitely my favorite part.
Great.
My favorite ALA memory has to go back to ALC year, and it had to have been the weekend rafting trip. As I mentioned earlier, when you're as an ALC for 2 weeks, you get to know all these people who I go to school with now, who I'm friends with on a daily basis. I met my co-PD as an ALC way back in the day. And I think the coolest part about it is you get to leave camp, you go to an external place, and you go on this really cool camping trip. And that's where all these bonds are formed with, 20, 30 people who you've only spent a week with, but you got another week with, and you really just get to know them on such a personal level. And also at the same time, you're going whitewater rafting, which is absolutely insane. It's my first time ever doing that. So between the combination of the relationships you form and the trip that you're actually on, it just turned into one of the best weekends of my life. So if you're an upcoming ALC, just know that you have that in store to really make those connections that will last with you the rest of your life.
All right. And just one more question for you guys. What is one thing that you wish you knew before you became an ALA?
Honestly, this kind of circles back to what Bennett was saying at the beginning, about like how much it's going to change you and things like that. And I wish I knew before ALA, like who I would be after it. Because I mean, I guess it just, the whole program really made me who I am today. I feel like I wasted so much time before it not being 100% myself. I mean, because it really just showed me that like, do it, like be yourself, do your thing, and like give back to others. And it just really, I don't know, it kind of just, I think it was the first time, like that whole experience, that I actually really learned like about myself and about self-confidence and about just really accepting yourself. So I kind of wish that I wish that I knew how much it was going to change me. And I wish I just knew how big of an experience this would be. And I was starting like a whole new chapter of my life. So.
Yeah, I've kind of got two things to say. First, I'll build off that. I think if you come in on the first day and you're just 100% yourself, your true self, you just break down all the barriers that you put up for outside the gates of camp. If you break those down the minute you come in, you're just going to be in a great headspace, which I really recommend doing. Just make sure when you come in, you're just yourself, and you're giving it everything you got to be you. And the second thing I will say is if you're coming into camp and this might be your first year or maybe your second year, you've gone a bunch of different weeks and you don't have a set camp group, don't even worry about it. Not one bit. I was one of those kids who came in with not a set group. I would go anywhere between week 1 and week 6. I would go for 2 weeks. I'd go for 1 week. I never had a set group that I always came with. And that really made me nervous coming into ALC year. And then I had some friends from ALC going into LIT year, but especially coming into ALC year, I didn't know anybody. And I was super nervous when I walked into the cabin on the first day. And I was in a room of 5 guys, and all 4 of them except me knew each other. And that was super nerve-wracking to me. But I quickly realized that didn't matter at all, because this is where your friendships are going to form. This is where your friendships are going to start. So just know that if you're coming in, you're a little nervous about being alone, just put all that behind you the minute you come into camp, because you're going to make some of your best friends for the rest of your life.
Awesome. Thank you, Sophie, and thank you, Bennett. All right, ALAs, now it's your turn. Please complete similar questions that are going to be posted on your family account by April 15th. Remember, too, that the 4th annual Day of Giving is Friday, April 17th, and we already appreciate the effort that a lot of you have already made to provide the opportunity of camp to those in need. In the meantime, be practicing social distancing, washing your hands, staying safe and healthy so that we can have another great summer. Thanks, guys.